Hello DollarMakers members. Today I want to talk to you about overlap. Overlap is probably the most important aspect of a joint ventures business, but at the same time it's probably the most overlooked. And we need to understand the importance of overlap. If you've read what anthropologists wrote about the 100 monkeys experiment, you will know that they'd found that the monkey that discovered that he could wash a sweet potato, wash the grit and the sand and the dirt off the sweet potato in the river, once that tipping point was reached of 100 monkeys understanding that they could wash sweet potatoes, suddenly all over the place monkeys started washing sweet potatoes, even on islands where they were not connected and there was no way for them to communicate. If you read Maxwell Maltz's book Psycho-Cybernetics, you know that this is the fact. If you know about Jung's idea of the universal subconscious, and if you understand that, one guy breaks the 3-minute mile here and then all of a sudden it's broken all over the world, or scientists discover something in one area of the world and then they start discovering the same thing and they've not communicated with each other. This is how the mind works. This is the power of the mastermind and things beyond our understanding. It doesn't matter. I don't need to understand how the television set works in order to use it. So this is the law, and the reticular activating system works with us in our goal setting. We know that synchronicity works. We know that it's really important to work together. We can accomplish more things. And as I mentioned earlier, the mastermind effect, that where two minds are united in purpose and in values and in they're really working together, almost like a third mind is created. So the way that overlap works is it gives other successful people a vested interest in your success. Now, the mission of DollarMakers is to help millions of people around the world to create their own financial independence using joint ventures with no cost or no risk, regardless of their background, circumstances, education, or what's happening in their life or their age. And so once we buy into that and we understand that all the divisions of the DollarMakers organization are all moving in the same direction, then that is a fantastic power and a fantastic mastermind in action that we have access to. We start accessing rules and laws that work for us when we're doing that. And we underestimate the power of our brains. It's almost like when you wake up just before the alarm clock rings, or you want to say something, somebody else says it, or you expect somebody to call you and they call you. As I say, we don't have to understand that. What we do have to understand is that when minds are synchronized, when they're unified in a certain direction, and the passion, when they are energized with emotion, when we believe in something strongly enough and we want it strongly enough, then things start happening. It's same with goal setting. When you're specific in your goal setting, well, with overlap we can incorporate all of those realities, because with overlap we have to set goals, because it's like a joint venture, but it's beyond joint ventures. It's because I'm incorporating many joint ventures. So let's take, for example, Patrick Giesbrecht and myself. We're presenting these government grant seminars. Well, we want as many of you to have as much overlap in those seminars as possible, because then you'll help us to sell the seminars and we'll all make more money. And if Patrick can't make it to Kelowna or Kamloops, I can do it. And if I can't do it, he can do it. So what overlap does is it gives a lot of other people, as I said before, vested interest in your success. They will go beyond, up over and beyond, to help you to get what you want, because they benefit from it. It's very practical as well. Now, when you have a lot of people working in the same direction, you have access to their minds, to their resources, to their frames of reference, to their skill sets. And we all start using our brains instead of trying to build our little empires all over the place, instead of having this idea that I want to brand myself instead of really reaching a goal. When we get the ego out of the way, I'm talking about the negative ego, then all of a sudden we can think objectively and realistically, and we understand the big picture. And that's really what DollarMakers is all about. And if you want to be truly successful, then that's what it's got to be all about. If you watch the movie, The Social Network, it's all about Facebook. This guy and the guy with Napster, it wasn't about making a buck in the beginning. It was all about creating massive, unequaled, unique value for as many people as possible. And that's exactly where DollarMakers is going. We're nothing compared to them now, but we have a very unique service which we're offering the world, and it is very valuable. And once you understand that, and you really get on board with that, and you understand that it's not about my ego or your ego or building your little empire or feeling important or a label, it's all about us working together, because as Zig Ziglar said, you can get anything you want out of life if you're prepared to help enough other people to get what they want. Well, this is the vehicle for doing exactly that. So DollarMakers in itself is a giant joint venture. The more overlap you have with the right members in DollarMakers, the more powerful you will become, and the more your goals will be accomplished in your personal life, and so everybody wins. So it's a very synergistic approach, it's a very inclusive approach, and it's a very non-threatening approach. It's not like there's a shrinking pie or somebody's more important than anybody else. That is why overlap is so important. If you'd like to know more about how you can get more overlap with the leadership in DollarMakers, give me an email, robin@dollarmakers.com, and I'll be happy to share that with you. Thanks for being a member of DollarMakers and for what you contribute.